inizieremo con Anna Rylander, una breve introduzione prima di passare la parola a lei. Anna è una ricercatrice in ambito di design, organizzazione e pragmatismo, diciamo, si occupa di fare ricerca all'intersezione tra questi tre ambiti a Chalmers University. È stata anche senior lecturer sul design alla Scuola del Design and Craft dell'Università di Gothenburg e da sempre appunto ha fatto ricerca all'intersezione tra il mondo del design e il management e recentemente una delle sue ricerche ha anche vinto un best paper per una delle riviste di innovazione più, diciamo, prestigiose, quindi una ricerca assolutamente di rilievo. Oggi ci parlerà di una capability molto specifica, che è quella della, più che una capability, è una skill forse, o una competenza che in qualche modo è tipica di chi pratica il design, che è la sensibilità. La sensibilità appunto si acquista, si acquisisce, si impara attraverso la pratica del design. Lei ci porterà una prospettiva per spiegarci come questa abilità possa essere in realtà utile e di veramente grande importanza in contesti organizzativi e manageriali, soprattutto nel contesto che stiamo vivendo oggi. A breve le passerò la parola, prima di fare ciò però vi ricordo che mentre Anna parla sarà attivo un po' l'Everywhere, dal quale potete accedere attraverso il seguente QR code o col link che vedete scritto qua, che chiedo a qualche collega di potervelo mettere in chat così che possiate avercelo disponibile anche sulla chat dell'evento. E durante, diciamo, lo speech di Anna, sentitevi liberi di postare le vostre domande che noi raccoglieremo e poi appunto porgeremo ad Anna nel corso della Ask Me Anything session che si svolgerà a valle dei due speech. Adesso passerò all'inglese per introdurre Anna. Anna, welcome, and it's a real pleasure to have you here with us today. I just did a very brief introduction about your work and your research, but I'm pretty sure you will be much more better than me in explaining what you're doing and what you think it might be relevant even for this community. So I would stop screen share just to leave the floor to you. So you should be able to share your screen.
Yes, thank you very much, Paula. Thank you
Great.
for thank you for inviting me and for the nice introduction. I'll start by saying that I am not a designer. I have a management background, but I've been a management consultant, and I have done research within the field of management and organization. But I've been interested in design and studied design for about 20 years. So what I'd like to tell you about today is my journey and where I ended up in exploring what design is about and what the potential is of design. If you wonder why I have some really corny slides like this one, it is because they have been kindly generated by Autopilot, you know, Microsoft's AI tool. And the reason I do that is that I think it's quite good at playing back the average sense out there, the dominant images of the stuff that I'm talking about. So when the pictures look like this, then they are AI generated, prompted by the headline. You know, it's AI. So I want to start the story in 2009. That's when I did a study. I did my first study on design as a creative practice with a famous Swedish design agency, which was perhaps the leading design agency and the most creative and had the most design awards of the time. And last week, I invited one of the designers from there, Stefan, to my course in design thinking for engineers, for them to get a bit of arts-based techniques with them. And he told them that, yes, when Anna came in 2009, that was peak creativity for us. What she studied, those were the days, that was the best time. And since then, it's been a little bit downhill. And I'll tell you more about that. But it also happened to coincide with 2009 being the European Year of Creativity and Innovation. So it's really a spark and a lot of energy about creativity at the time. And the European Union explicitly wanted to focus and lift up creativity as a source of growth and innovation. And this even led up to the new strategy for the entire EU in 2000 being called the Innovation Union, with the purpose to promote creativity as a key driver for innovation, explicitly say that innovation stems from creativity, innovation, and cross-disciplinary collaboration, including design. So those of you who were around those, remember these were great days. This was wonderful for me because we got a lot of funding to do EU projects, also with Polytechnico, and a lot of great things came out of this buzz. So 2009 was really the start of something, and as you remember, this was really the explosion of design thinking. And you remember this character, Tim Brown, and this is the most famous or most cited definition of design thinking, explaining that we emulate designers' ways of working and thinking to create great products and services or strategies or whatever. So design thinking was explained as a method that uses the designer's sensibility and methods to make these great things. But sometimes, after a while, it started to itch. So about a decade later, researchers who studied design thinking started to feel something was missing. So Christian Bason and Rob Olsen, for example, said that, well, actually, the truth is that the same aspects of design thinking methods that make them so difficult for employees to handle are also the source of their power. So the stuff that we can't really put our words on, the stuff that feels difficult, that feels anxious, is really the key. Roberto Verganti, whom I'm sure you all know from Polytechnico, he was more blunt. He said that to make design thinking digestible for managers, design thinking had to undergo a lobotomy that rendered it guts-free, aesthetics-free. Management has not moved closer to design. Design has moved closer to management. So this was the same itch that my colleagues and I were kind of feeling. And we said we have to explore this missing dimension, what got lost. So we started with looking to the literature, how design thinking is described. And what we found was, of course, that not surprisingly, it's based on management theories, which in turn are based on theories from psychology, which look at creativity as kind of an outside-in method to explore creativity as problem solving, where diversity is important because it's combining old things in new ways, something that happens in the mind. And of course, as this AI-generated picture shows, there's the compulsory light bulb, right? The idea that goes ping, and then it is for somebody else. It's ready and there, it's for somebody else to implement. So it's not so strange that design thinking turned out to be all methods. What happened when I talked to my designers, it was a completely different picture that emerged. they were telling me like, methods and stuff, that's what we tell our clients. Oh, I said, because that's what I thought I was studying. There's no process. Our clients don't really design what design is. Okay, so what is design? Well, it's the other stuff. It's creating experiences. It's imagining the future. It's world making, creating new worlds, creating images of the future. And we don't do methods. And what I saw in my studies, which at first I couldn't understand, it was more just they sitting around sketching. So it's really a process of making, and ideas emerge through interaction with the material, with an idea that slowly emerges as something. You work it out in dialogue with the material and with others. So this is more of an inside-out approach to creativity, departing from human experience and action. And as you can see, there are no pictures here because the AI couldn't figure out how to visualize this. It's clearly not a big discourse. So we called this sensibility, the missing version. And to explore this further, we had very little use of the management theories, of course. So we took all of them and scrapped them. We looked into philosophy, and more importantly, we looked into literature by artistic practitioners, and more concretely by teachers who are also practitioners in design schools, in studio pedagogy and education. So what we came to define sensibility as was the disposition or mindset and a set of skills that are developed and nurtured during studio education through continuous practice, and is concerned with design qualities and the open-minded expressive purpose of imagining new worlds. So the studio education, as you know, many of you, is not set up to support people learning to become creative. The assumption is that people are creative, but we need to provide a setup which allows them to enact it, to develop it and hone these skills and dispositions, which are often called things like learning to see, learning to experiment, learning to tolerate uncertainty so that the students can put themselves into a position where new things can happen. And by the way, this is not unique to designers. It's very close to how we as humans learn. So this, we found, seems to be a little bit of the magic of design. It's the sensibility, but paradoxically, this thing disappeared in all the literature and all the discourse on management. So now we are in a bit of a predicament. What seems to be most important is this seems to have become the least appreciated. So what next? What do we do? I don't know. But I have learned that that's not my job to tell you about the way forward, where we should go, how to predict, and try to steer the future. Instead, I try to learn from design and try to look at where is sensibility most important, and perhaps most importantly, to look for opportunities in constraints. Look at the challenges and turn them into opportunities to see where sensibility, creativity as sensibility thrives. So let's start with the very big picture. As you know, the world is in a sorry state. We have pandemics, climate change, geopolitical crisis, etc., economic crisis. We could go on. They're often called polycrisis, permacrisis, creeping crisis. I prefer wicked crisis because it feels very familiar to us who have studied wicked problems. But I think it's now on a different level. It's not just that the problems are small, and that it's on a different scale. It's also a qualitative difference. It feels different. We've talked about uncertainty and complexity for 25 years at least, as long as I've been around in professional life. But this is something different. There's a recognition, I think, that we need real change. We cannot go on with business as usual, but we really don't know what to do, and we don't know how to do it. So going to my colleagues, organizational researchers, they say that our capacity, or specifically Renato Meyer here, says that our capacity to rise to wicked crisis depends on our capacity to decide and act in concert. So what that means in our terminology, basically, it's about collective sense making. So we cannot no longer have these predictive models because they simply don't work in a wicked crisis. We have to be adaptive, and we have to do it together. And this is our main problem right now, to understand what to do, how to do it, and do it together, to go in a common direction. The main problem with this is that there seems to also be an imaginary crisis out there, right? So it's a result of a deficit in social imagination. Clearly, the sensibility has been squeezed out, not just from design, but on a more general level. So many people find it very hard to picture like a plausible and a desirable society a generation or two in the future. And this has led to sort of loss of sense of agency. What can I do about it? A passivity and a fear of the future that we are seeing today. So really what we severely need is help to imagine better futures. So this seems to me like a place where design and sensibility could become relevant. Another more concrete threat, of course, that we're all talking about is AI, who quickly is replacing creativity or creative work. And there's a big discourse on when will AI catch up, and can it replace creativity work? So here I just want to make a brief comment. I like the term AI mirror because I think this is what the AI does. It reflects what we put in there back to us. I took the metaphor from Shannon Valor, an ethicist and at Google, and also philosopher and researcher. And she points out that the AI mirror is not a mind. This is just an extension of those methods that I talked about in creativity, but taking them one step further. Knowledge is strictly information, zeros and ones. Extracting statistical patterns from past human-generated data and projecting these patterns forward onto optimized predictions, selections, classifications, and compositions. So this is an absurd version of the creativity picture that we saw before. Basically, what it can do is reflect back to us our own biases, as I think this picture very clearly demonstrates. So she suggests that the real existential crisis with AI is not AI itself, because it won't get a mind, it won't take over, it's just a computer, but it's how we relate to AI. And if and her point is that we lose ourselves in the AI mirrors if we don't take a step back and really reflect on what it is that they produce to us and what we should do to take charge over the future of the world. So that is what she's afraid of losing, our most vital powers and virtues, our capacity for creative thought, moral ambition and vision, and they are drowned in the AI knitter. So the danger, the real danger of AI is a call to human action and responsibility. And I would say a call to sensibility. So I'm asking if it's time to recover and perhaps restore the magic of design, and bringing up sensibility more explicitly. So, playing around with words here, I think this is an open question. What can we do to bring sensibility up to the surface and nurture it and articulate it? What can sensibility-driven design be? I have just a few starting points for thinking about it from my perspective. Which seems not to be working on my screen. So I will just say them rather than show them, apparently. I think that this sensibility-driven design is a leadership issue rather than an issue of problem solving. And it's a leadership because it's directed to actively making better words. But it's not a leadership in the sense of the top-down, outside-in approach. It is leadership seen as a practice, as something we do. Which brings me to the next point, and that is that this is emergent and collaborative. So it's about continuously responding to what happens in the outside world, but also in the group or community that you are working with. So it must be collaborative leadership through action. And most importantly, perhaps, it is leadership through imagining and expressing better worlds. Creating and having visions of better worlds is perhaps, I think, the most important thing we can do and we need to do to strengthen that capacity to decide and act in concert, as Renate Meyer said. So my slides have given up, so I think I'll end on that note and leave it over to Brian.